Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome. My name is Chris McEntee. I have the privilege of being the Executive Director and the CEO of the American Geophysical Union. We could not be happier or more thrilled to welcome you to our newly renovated building. What better setting could there be for today's important, and I would say historic event, than the district's first net zero energy commercial renovation. And to have that, that's worth applauding. And to have that coincide with the historic and progressive legislation that the district has just passed. For those of you who may not know a lot about us, this building serves as the headquarters for our organization. We're an international scientific society of 60,000 members from 137 countries around the world. We've just held our first ever scientific meeting in Washington, D.C., where we brought 28,500 of our closest friends to the city. And we'll be back in 2024, so we're excited about that. But through our journals and our meetings and our other activities, we actually engage about 200 to 300,000 scientists on an annual basis. Our members are the scientists who tell you everything you want to know about the Earth, the atmospheres, the oceans, lakes, rivers, solar system, and the exo-universes, and also about climate change. Their science tells us, and you know this very well, that climate change is real. Human activity is the predominant cause, and urgent action is needed. And we know that buildings are a major driver of those carbon emissions, which are contributing to this really serious societal problem. When it became apparent about 5 years ago that our headquarters needed a major renovation, we seized the opportunity to walk the talk of our mission, which is science for the benefit of humanity, and demonstrate that a building on a tight urban footprint can operate on a net zero energy basis, reduce its carbon footprint, be a productive and healthy place to work and congregate, and be a community and amenity that both AGU and DC can be proud of. There are numerous amazing elements of this building I would love to tell you all about, but we have some important business to take care of. And when we officially reopen the building, we hope you'll all come back and take the opportunity to learn about all of that. Instead, we have information packets for you at the back of the building, and at the back of the room, and I encourage you to please take them along with some AGU hats and other things, and get it. And after this event, we'll have a tour of the building for anyone that has time to stay. We were established in 1919, which makes this year our centennial year as an organization. This building for us embodies the spirit and values of our mission and scientific discovery, and we hope that it will serve as a beacon for progress in achieving sustainability and embracing learning and collaboration, a fitting legacy for us as an organization whose members dedicate themselves every day to innovation, to advancement of knowledge, collaboration, and leveraging new discoveries for all of us. With the district's sustainability goals firmly in mind, a core purpose of this project at AGU has been to lead by example and catalyze the incorporation of similar approaches and designs into new and existing facilities here and throughout Washington and the Washington, D.C. area and around the world. That makes it particularly fitting, and we are so thankful that the mayor has chosen to sign this amazing Clean Energy DC Omnibus Act, and the completion at the same time as we're completing our construction of this first net energy commercial renovation. What a wonderful coincidence that they're happening just merely a few months apart. Not only have we created a healthy and modern workplace for our staff and a state-of-the-art meeting and conference space that can serve as a resource for all of you and the public, we have created an engaging and educational destination for the public, policymakers, developers, urban planners, and others to learn about the importance of sustainable development and the ways Earth and space science contributes to solving the most pressing challenges facing our societies. In addition to tracking the building's performance on a daily basis, we will be making all our data publicly available to foster more research and innovation. We are honored, Mayor, to have you here and your colleagues here as the district steps forward to be a leader on renewable energy that the rest of the nation and the world can follow. Climate change is real. The effects are impacting our lives today. Urgent action is needed, and we are all part of the solution. Today is an important mile marker in that journey. Thank you for your attention. I'd like to turn the podium over to Tommy Wells.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you to AGU for hosting us. It's very important symbolically that we're here, that this building shows that you don't have to build a brand new building in order to really meet incredible efficiency standards that set a standard for the world. But also this bill that we're signing today, I know a lot of our building owners and folks say, well, don't make it too tough. We have to try to comply with these stringent standards, and I know we get 5 years. This building is the example. This building, not only is it likely to be net zero, it potentially on many days and could average over the year to be net positive. It's an extraordinary building. And some of the things that American Geophysical Union has done here is right below me. There's the equipment that taps into a 100-year-old sewer pipe and takes the heat off the sewer pipe to heat the building. That's extraordinary. There's no electricity exchanged. It just changes the temperature. And it's a constant heat or constant temperature around 68 to 70 degrees. So it helps during the summer as well. That's extraordinary. And that it has a solar array on the roof that goes over the footprint of the building, which rarely is ever allowed in the district. And that is, it goes for, well, it's a historic area, but the values of our city went out, and that, interestingly, I don't think you have to be a nerd to understand this, but it'll deliver electricity to the cubicles for people to run their computers, but it'll be direct current all the way through. It won't be transferred to AC. It'll be DC all the way to the cubicles, so you don't lose power, and it's the most efficient use of power. It's extraordinary. The other things is that the glass here, it's much like those tinting glasses that you can buy that as you go outside and it gets lighter, they tint automatically. So for these can be run off an iPhone or essentially off a computer so that you can change the temperature of the building by the glass. So there's things about this building that's an important example and model for the buildings and building owners and developers for all of Washington to show they can meet the standards of this bill that we're about to sign today and be part of the community of being the answer and solution to global climate change. The other thing I'll note is that what Chris noted, I am happy to say, and I know that my colleagues on the council and for the government, we all appreciate this, that they did just decide to hold their conference here again, Mayor, in 2024. And we all noted that Chris said 28,000 people. But they also told me that it generated around $80 million. And so to select us again, Events DC did a fabulous presentation. I was there. And so I'm very proud of our team and that they will be coming back. So with that today, this extraordinary bill really happened as much as, certainly the council did their work and the mayor has done hers and our team. But our partners in the community did an amazing job to really get through a bill that will be a model not just for the nation, if not for the world. That we've got the Chesapeake Climate Action Network here on Tidwell, Camilla Thorndike, Sierra Club DC. You guys are incredible. A group that does a lot of work that maybe you don't see necessarily, but have done a lot to help us all is Institute for Market Transformation, Cliff Majurzik. And it was not a junket, but we did co-host a trip, co-sponsor a trip to Copenhagen and Brussels to see how others do this and meet these standards. And our co-sponsor of that was Lisa Mallory. Lisa is not here, but that's the BIA, the Building Industry Association. They're on board with us. I want to thank them. And the Apartment and Office Building Association. You guys are the ones that will have to implement and help meet these standards with us. Kirsten Williams, is Kirsten here? Well, thank you. DC Environmental Network. Chris is not new to this. He's been in many of your offices, and we've known Chris for a long time, but the Environmental Network, we're very lucky in DC to have them. Thank you, Chris and DCEN. We also have our partners at PEPCO and the other partners and utilities that are part of this, including DC Water. Thank you for being such great partners in supporting this. So with that, this would not have happened with amazing work at the City Council. That the amount of work that was done by Mary Chay's staff with Mary's leadership, and then Kenyon McDuffie with his leadership, this was such a big bill, it took 2 committees to do it. And then, Jack, with your leadership, of course, that you guys put this, I believe, through unanimously. I want to invite you 3 up if you'll have some words for it. And I think we're in your ward, too, aren't we, Jack?
Everything's in ward.
Yes, we are. Thank you. So we can start with you, Mary. It's your committee, too, that helped really make this happen.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm just delighted to be here in this building. It's so dramatic and amazing, and a model for what we're going to be doing across the district. We don't get to a point like this without many people pitching in. And Director Wells, I want to thank you, of course, and the Department of Energy and the Environment, and of course Mayor Bowser. But it's a cast of thousands. We would, if we were putting on a movie, we'd have to fill this with all of our participants and extras. It wouldn't have been possible. We wouldn't have been able to reach these ambitious goals without DOEE. Beyond its director, all of the brilliant people that are in DOEE who helped us score the bill and figure things out and figure how much, effects we could have with reducing greenhouse gases and so on. The policies and assistance we got from DOEE, the director and everybody on down, all emanating from, the mayor's commitment. We have joined hands together, the executive and the legislature, to make this happen. But also, as the director mentioned, all of the people, many of whom are in this room, and not all of them are in this room, many of the people who have advocated and gone into offices and wrote emails and letters and did all of these things, sometimes I could characterize that as incessantly. But nevertheless, it was absolutely necessary and the key ingredient really to bringing this all together. And I want to give special thanks to Councilmember McDuffie, who headed the second committee through which this bill traveled, for all of his support and making this happen. We couldn't have done it except together. So thank you, Councilmember McDuffie. And we have, of course, Councilmember Evans here. This is his ward, and he is the council member, not just from this ward, but a leader on the council who helped us get this passed. I want to tell you something because it came up a number of times. We've been at this for a long time. Every so often, a member of the press typically would say, well, really, what does this matter? The District of Columbia is a small jurisdiction. What does it really matter in the scheme of things? And I would love to get that question because I would love to answer it. First of all, it matters a lot because the District of Columbia, with this bill, but even before this bill, has been a model in the area of the environment. Previous legislation that we've put through. But this bill makes us a leader in the nation and in the world in terms of how we're addressing climate change. So we are a leader, we're a model, and that alone is invaluable. But second, we're part of a loose kind of coalition of jurisdictions around the nation who are trying, in default of the federal government, our walking away from the Paris Accords, we're trying on all of our levels together collectively to get there. So the District of Columbia has to do its part as well. And then the third thing I'd like to emphasize is that this is a moral obligation that we have. We're fiduciaries for the next generation and the generation after that. And I know you don't want this to happen. I certainly don't want this to happen. Our children and our children's children should not have to look us in the eye and question, why did you do nothing? In the face of this dire tragedy that we face in terms of climate change, why did you do nothing? In fact, why did you do nothing? Why didn't you do as much as you could? I think that this bill today tells those generations that we really have struggled. We've done our part. We will do more, because we're not done yet. That should get an applause line. We're not done yet, but I want to thank all of you. All of you have really participated in this in every possible way, and we couldn't have done it without you. So thank you very much.
What she said. I'm Kenny McDuffie. I'm council member for Ward 5, and importantly, I chair the Committee on Business and Economic Development. I am so delighted to be here with you all this afternoon, and really I just want to take an opportunity to say thanks. There are a lot of folks in here who deserve thanks. Everybody won't get mentioned by name. Clearly, the city has been a leader on these things for a while, and the city is led by Mayor Muriel Bowser, Director Wells at the Department of Environment. Let's give them a round of applause for their leadership. As Councilmember Che mentioned, all the staff at DOEE that have worked really hard on this obviously deserve credit and recognition. The folks who have been advocating in the community, who've not let up, who've been really persistent, the industry partners that have been named previously. I think I saw folks from PEPCO, I think Washington Gas, AOBA, DCBIA. But, you know, I do want to also name specifically the CCAN, Sierra Club, Chesapeake, I already named them. I saw Chris in here somewhere, Environmental Network. Yep, Chris is always taking pictures. We appreciate that. But you all were really, really great to work with and have led on these issues. For me, in the committee that I chair, I got this bill after it came through Councilmember Che's committee. And really, you know, I'm a sports guy, so I think about some sports I played. And I played football growing up. And I really just got the handoff. Mary quarterbacked this thing. And so I want to give her special recognition and applause for all her effort. I remember where she started, and I know how hard it was to get to where we are today and how much it took to bring all the stakeholders to the table. And so I really appreciated working with Mary Che. Nicole on her staff obviously worked really hard. Chanel, Autry on my staff worked really hard. And so you know, I'm just delighted to be here today to celebrate. I do want to recognize some of the things that we were able to do in the committee. Focus on business, make sure that those jobs are going to be there for District of Columbia residents. They're going to be created as a result of this bill. Obviously, the importance of the Green Bank, the importance of making sure that minorities and women have an opportunity to avail themselves of some of the business opportunities as well is also critical. Yeah, we can clap for that. So it's a good day. And obviously, we're in Ward 2. I want to thank Jack Evans for everything he always does at the council. I think he's been here a little while. How long has it been now, Jack?
3 centuries. 28 years.
Tommy Wells says 3 centuries. I'm going with that. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. Oh, we can do better than that. Good morning. Good morning. This is a celebration. It's afternoon. My God, we've been there that long. Well, there's an old saying when you're this far down on the program: "It's all been said, but not by me." So here we go. But I certainly want to take the opportunity, as everyone else has done, to thank everyone, starting with our mayor, Mayor Bowser. Thank you. Director Wells, thank you, and certainly my two colleagues, Mary and Kenyon, who did a fabulous job, and everyone else who worked on this. As was said, the District of Columbia really leads in the environment. It wasn't always that way, but in the current administration, Mayor Bowser has really made this a
goal for all of us. And my colleagues on the council, Tommy, have really started to implement these environmental changes that make us the #1 city when it comes to environment in the country. And it goes with a lot of our other #1 ratings. The city is the most progressive city in the country, and on, and I like being first in all those categories. Tommy Wells has done a terrific job in the environment. You did the bags. Remember the bags? Going back to the bags. And he is a river guy. He loves helping clean up the river. We still have to do our canoe ride, and we will do it. He'll do it now, but I'm going to wait till the spring when the water gets a little warmer. But Tommy has been a real champion on that, and certainly Marion Kenyon as well, in making sure our environment is as best as it can be. On Metro, as you know, that's the other hat I wear, chairman of the board of Metro. And I was thinking when I was standing there, back in the day, in the 90s when I was on the board, we had a big fight to get bikes on rail, if you can imagine. Remember that? We first got bikes on the buses, then bikes on rail. And I'm really pleased to say that 3 or 4 weeks ago, I managed to convince Metro finally to allow bikes on rail at rush hour. Yeah, so now there are no restrictions on when you can do that. And as we continue to construct bike lanes throughout the city, we're doing a bus study that we're going to look at having dedicated bus lanes that are really consistent so that you can get on a bus anywhere in the city and get downtown in 30 minutes without the blockage of cars, et cetera. We really have to think creatively to make our environment work for us here. And rest assured, we are all doing that. To show you how long I've been around, I was cut the ribbon when we built this building back in the day. So it has to be sometime in the last 28 years, I think, when we tore this, whatever was here and built it. And to see the renovation that's going forward is fabulous, to make it the kind of building that is a model for other construction projects throughout the District of Columbia. So I'm pleased to be with all of you here today. Congratulations to all of us. This is a real achievement, and as politicians love to do, we love to cut ribbons, so we'll be back when the building's done, and we'll be looking forward to the signing of the bill today. Thank you very much.
And can you remind me to also acknowledge the Office of the People's Council, who has been very helpful, and our Public Service Commission, which is probably one of the most progressive public service commissions in the country. Thank you guys for your work. And while I'm thanking everyone, I have to thank the DOEE staff, especially Mark, Edward, the folks, Kate, you guys really helped do the back work that the council members talked about. If you'll raise your hand, if you're DOE staff, you did an amazing job. Thank you, and do every day. Now, let me say that when I accepted this position, I learned a lot. And one of the things I learned is that we're a city that's a member of something called C40. C40 is a membership of about 100 of the largest cities in the world, and representing a huge portion of the population of our planet. And right after the new president was elected, he announced he was going to pull out of the Paris Agreement. And I got to tell you, in sitting with our colleagues of the community of cities of the world, that it was like a stomach punch. And it was a lot of insecurity and uncertainty about what's America going to do. And I have to say that one of the more profound experiences I've had in my long career was being accompanied by the mayor of our city, who led a group of mayors that predominantly looked a lot like me. And she spoke on behalf of not just D.C., but on behalf of our country, in Mexico City, with a gathering of mayors from across the world, that she came down there. And our mayor said, you know what? One election does not change the values of our people. And it was partially to provide reassurance, but also to be a rallying cry to the rest of us. And so I want to introduce to you our mayor, the mayor who, under her leadership, D.C. became the first LEED Platinum city in the world. I give you Mayor Muriel Bowser.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you for that. And isn't this a wonderful, wonderful celebration? I happen to be coming here from doing the Kojo Namdi show. And one of the favorite questions of Tom Sherwood to me, I think, and to me in particular, is how are you getting along with the council? And I'm so pleased to be coming here today to be with four of my former colleagues on the council to demonstrate really how our government works. We work together, and we advance the values of Washingtonians together. And we are fortunate to live in a city where we really agree on 99.9% of things. But most especially, we have, in the last 2.5 years, been called upon to lock arms with each other to protect our values. And it is a DC value that we care for our earth, our environment, and that we recognize that we are indeed stewards for the next generation of Washingtonians and Americans and people of the world. And we take that responsibility very seriously. We're also living in very fortunate times in our city that have allowed us to think big and to act fast and to innovate in ways that cities and countries around the world haven't been able to. That's also a very significant responsibility that we have. We also have the responsibility to think about how we can include more Washingtonians in all of the work that we do across the city, across all 8 wards, in every income demographic that we have in our city. And today we get to celebrate all of those things. So let me congratulate everybody who's been working on this. Let me start with my friend Mary Che. And I have a feeling, Mary, that this bill involves some rubber bands. Did it not? Mary and I had a little joke, that we sat next to each other on the council and our offices were next to each other. And I could always tell when the bill was coming from our office because you couldn't hold it with one folder or paper clip, but it would require stacks and stacks in rubber bands. And that just demonstrates sometimes these things are complicated. They can live many months, sometimes many years to get done, and have required a lot of work. So let me congratulate Mary, not just for this groundbreaking piece of legislation, but really for her tenure that's been focused on helping make DC more sustainable and healthier. Congratulations, Councilmember Che. And to Councilmember McDuffie and Jack Evans, who share our focus as a city collectively at making sure that we're healthy and strong economically, that we're growing, that we're fair, and that people across the city are participating in our progress. So thank you to Councilmember Kenyon McDuffie and Jack Evans. So Tommy and his team at DOEE, we should be very proud of the group of people who are working for us, who are smart, who are creative, and who are really challenging the status quo, even our very high standards for how we fight climate change in this city. I want to thank all the members of our various boards who are helping us fight climate change as well. And I'm going to say really quickly some of the things that this bill will help us accomplish. It mandates by 2032, 100% of the electricity sold in the district comes from renewable sources. It provides significant financial assistance for programs that support low and moderate income residents, including energy bill assistance, efficiency, and workforce development. It allows us to make significant improvements to the energy efficiency of existing buildings in the district. Currently, 3/4 of our greenhouse gas emissions here in DC are due to energy consumption by buildings, and that's the case for most cities. That's why it's so important. What the commitment and the demonstrated commitment that we have here at AGU demonstrates to other building owners in our city. So let us thank Chris McEntee once again. So, starting in 2021, all DC government buildings over 10,000 square feet and all private buildings over 50,000 square feet will be required to improve the efficiency of their buildings. And by 2031, every building in the district that is over 10,000 square feet will need to perform at or better than their building class's median Energy Star rating. The law also requires that all public transportation and privately owned fleet vehicles become emissions-free by 2045. And finally, and very important to us, the Clean Energy DC Omnibus Act provides funding for the DC Green Bank, and we're very happy about that. The Green Bank we introduced it as a very signature piece of legislation in my first term, and it will be the first of its kind in the country. It will allow us to use public dollars to attract and leverage private investment, and by doing so, we can accelerate the deployment of projects focused on clean energy, energy efficiency, and resilience. And the one thing that we're all called upon to do, whether we're talking about greening DC, building affordable housing, and spreading economic prosperity to all 8 wards, is how we leverage more private dollars to the very important public investments that we've made already. By doing so, we will create more jobs, reduce carbon emissions, lower utility costs, and improve our city's green infrastructure. And that's a huge deal for all of us. So Tommy got to share a experience that we had together in Mexico City. And I'll just build on that. You heard it from Mary, that we are leading in the nation and in the world. And this is a unique time, isn't it? And we are different. And this is where being different is good. We get to represent our city and our nation. And the world really looks to Washington, D.C. As that representative. We're different. We're not New York. We're not any of those places. We are our nation's capital. And it is our faces that we want the world to know as Washington, D.C., not those faces. And so that's why we will continue to acknowledge that climate change is real, that we believe science, and that we will do all we can to make the world and our city a better place. Thank you, everybody. Let's sign our bill. Congratulations.